reading today is found in Matthew chapter 25, verses 31 through 46, found on page 27 of your Pew Bible. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep at his right hand, but the goats at the left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see thee hungry and feed thee? Or see thee hungry and feed thee, or thirsty and give them drink? And when did we see thee stranger and welcome thee, or naked and clothe thee? And when did we seek the sick or in prison and visit thee?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did it one of the least as these my brethren, you did it to me." Then he will say to those at his left hand, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they also answer, "Lord, when did we see thee hungry, or thirsty, or stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to thee?" Then he will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me." And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
On a Sunday when we're considering a commitment to Christian service, I think it's only fitting that we turn to the 25th chapter of Matthew's Gospel and the story there of the sheep and of the goats. Now, I just know somewhere, someplace, there's a literalist out there saying, "Well, I got this list, and I did feed my little sister a peanut butter sandwich 43 years ago. I did make one visit in the prison. I remember giving a bottle of water to somebody sometimes. So I guess my bases, they're all covered." Don't be a literalist, because you'll miss this parable. The parable is the final teaching that we find in Matthew's Gospel. And it's not so much a parable as it is a grand vision of the future. And we behold so much about God. For there is Jesus present. Not so much as the earthly Christ that we knew in the earlier parts of the gospel, but there in all the glory. The King of the universe, the Lord of all of life. And before him come the nations, all of the people of the earth. And then there is the separating out of those who have been faithful and those who were not. And the defining characteristic of faithfulness is what was done for the least, for the lonely, for the left out. The story is telling us that Christian service and deeds of compassion are the will of God and are the very fabric of creation. Now hang on to that, because I think for most of us, most of the time, our sense of service is a little impulsive. You know, we come across someone in a particular situation of need, and we're moved in that moment to generosity. I have a friend who tells me of a day he was standing in line at McDonald's, and the person in front of him didn't have enough money to pay for the Happy Meal for the child. And he just couldn't stand to see the child sad and crying, so he paid for the meal. An impulse. But you're probably better off avoiding McDonald's. And that's good, and that's okay. But Christian service is much deeper than a momentary impulse. Christian service really is a life that is dedicated to discipleship. A life in which we connect the dots between our impulse toward compassion with the very nature of God and the very fabric of the world. Christian service is not a momentary response to a circumstance, but it is a lifetime commitment to the way that we live, to the choices that we make, to who we are day in and day out. Christian service in the New Testament is not an impulse, but it is a consistent, steady way of life. In his book that we've been sharing together, Shifts, Phil Maynard draws a distinction in Christian life between a gesture and another kind of service. A gesture is what I've just mentioned. It is a kind and gracious act in a moment. And the church is full of those. Every now and then we'll take up a special offering for this or for that, and it does feel good to respond and express our caring in that way. We are thrilled at Wesley Church that we can unlock our doors and 3 AA groups can come in here and they can meet, and we can have a small part in their journey toward sobriety. A good gesture. We have a scouting troop. Good to give those young men and women a place for that type of nurture. But Christian discipleship, I think, can also go to another level. A discipleship that's not a momentary impulse to a concern, but an expression of a lifelong commitment and dedication. Now, one of the newer members who joined the church not too long ago gave us quite a compliment. As they were looking around for churches, they settled in on Wesley, and the way they described their experience is they said, Wesley is filled with gritty Christians. Gritty. That means that we go beyond gestures to get involved, to engage. There was this church that Phil Maynard served, and it became the sort of impetus for his book. And it was kind of a ritzy suburban church in an affluent neighborhood where everybody wore suits to church and was kind of more like a social club with a steeple on the top of it. Until, in rapid succession, 3 storms hit that community. And all of a sudden, beautiful suburbia looked very different. Trees had come down and roofs were blown off of homes. And the Christians from that church very quickly changed their mindset. They took out their chainsaws and they went around the neighborhoods cutting up trees so people could get their cars out of their homes, opening up roadways because there was way too much for the officials to care for. They put blue tarps over the roofs that had the wind take them away. He says that in the weeks and months and years after that experience, the congregation was transformed. Rather than seeing themselves focusing on themselves, they switched their orientation and they became externally focused. Discipleship meant authentic service. That's gritty Christianity. He tells another story I find rather interesting. It appears there was this church in a large city down in Texas, and right across the street from the church, they constructed an adult club. Is that delicate enough? Well, some of the churches got really angry and they started protesting it, and they would walk around it with signs. Others actually would take pictures trying to embarrass those who went in. But these Methodists did what Methodists do best. They cooked. They cooked. One night a week, the women who worked there came to the church. They had a free meal. They came in and they just had friendship. And for 1 hour a week, they were free from that demeaning experience. That's gritty Christianity. That's going from a gesture, a momentary impulse of kindness, to an enduring commitment expressing God's compassion and God's love. Well, we have a few gritty Christians here at Wesley. Our UMW, from time to time, will go to Shea Farm. That's the local prison, women's halfway house in our neighborhood, and celebrate a birthday. A cake, a blessing, gritty Christianity. I always think of Bob Wolfe when I think of gritty Christianity. You know, we took up an offering for used soccer cleats, and that was a very nice gesture for some of us. We got to clean out our closets and get rid of some of that clutter. But what was gritty about what Bob did was he took those cleats to people that he knows. He knows their names. He talks with them freely and frequently. The kind gesture becomes a personal contact, a personal connection. I think the shift that the Church of Jesus Christ needs to make in this, the 21st century, is to move beyond gestures to a gritty engagement with a hurting world. And I think that's the point of the 25th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. That God is present in the very lives of folk who are hurting. God is present in the very lives of those who are hurting, even when that hurting person is you. An authentic Christian discipleship is about an engagement at that deep level. Being gritty means taking human need seriously and responding with compassion and with kindness. And we do it as an impulse, sure. But today I want us to remember that that impulse to kindness that is within us is so much more. That impulse in kindness that we feel is a part of God. That impulse to human kindness is woven into the very fabric of everyday life. And because that is true, we need to move beyond our impulse. We need to serve in a gritty way, not just when it's convenient, not just when we feel like it, not on our own terms, in our own places, on when it feels okay. To be a gritty Christian is to make a lifelong commitment to a way of discipleship that is of service every moment. To serve someone that you like. To continue to serve even when you're not sure you like them that much anymore. To be authentic and kind and compassionate even when you struggle in your own mind, wondering. Gritty Christians make a commitment. Not based on the impulse that they feel, but based on the knowledge that the very God who made us, the very God who created all the world, wills such kindness and such compassion. So this morning I'd like you to think about how you could be a gritty Christian. How can we move our own discipleship from kind, hospitable gestures to a deep and abiding commitment? To live not by what we feel in a moment, but by truths that we believe to be eternal. and everlasting. For it is that inner commitment that will make us gritty Christians and faithful followers of Jesus Christ. Amen.